$3,000 for a raw comic book off of eBay is by far the riskiest move that I've ever made. Fortunately, I ended up seeing some writing that was on the cover, and that might help that book pay off big time. Hi, I'm Keston. Welcome to my channel. In this unboxing video, you're actually going to see 4 different books. I have 2 light appetizers. These books are worth about $200 a piece. And then I have a heavy appetizer. This is a $500 book. And then we'll get to the main meal. All right, here we go. All right, this book is pretty well done for a $200 book. That's the kind of packaging you would expect. It's between 2 pieces of cardboard here. All right, here it is, folks. This is Exciting Comics number 65. This is a great Golden Age book by Alex Schomburg. It's from 1948, and let me take a look at it. This book was sold as a 6.5 on eBay, and you can tell there's a little bit of spawn wear, but not bad. The top has got a little bit of the color off the very top, but not terrible. And I'm going to flip it over and show you the back. Looks like it's got like a little bit of staining here at the bottom, but this is a pretty good looking book. Now, the last thing I want to check is the page count. These books should have 24 individual pages in between the covers, and oftentimes the centerfolds are missing, and that would make the book worth a lot less. So let me check that out. 22, 23, 24. All right, thank goodness. I've had quite a few books come from eBay. They say that the book's all the way intact, but it's missing that centerfold. So this one, I'm really happy with it. I think that for the money that I paid for it, it's really great. Again, if I got this slabbed and pressed, I think it would probably be a 6.0. So it'll probably be worth about $350 as a 6.0. So very happy with this purchase. All right, let me get to my next book here. This packaging is above and beyond. So there's a box within a box, and we've got the styrofoam peanuts in there too. So very little risk of something happening with this particular book. All right, let's see what's in here. Gosh, more peanuts. And then have this box. For goodness, tons of peanuts. My buddy Comic Collector Geek, if you're watching, you can have some of these peanuts. He hates peanuts, by the way. This is a book that was sold as a VG fine, so a 5.0. Yeah, these folks really meant business when they were packing this book. All right, here we go. This is Thrilling Comics number 68, also an Alex Schomburg cover. And this book came out in either late 1948 or early 1949. And it's got this lady from the jungle who is listening to a radio for the first time. Pretty cool stuff. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, so here's a better look at this book. The spine looks really good. Yeah, gosh, I mean, I would say from the front, this looks like a 6.5 or 7. And I think that there's an issue with the back, if I remember. Let's take a look at it. Oh, yeah, this is the reason why it's a 5.0 and not a 7.0. You see that tear there? I mean, the nice thing is that that's actually pretty easy to flip down, and maybe especially with the press, it will look flatter. But yeah, I agree with the grade. I think this is a really solid looking book. What is this? Maybe almost an inch tear is going to bring down the grade somewhat. But gosh, really, really shows up well in the bag. Last thing I need to check, of course, is the page count. Again, 24 pages total. Internal is what I'm looking for. By the way, this has some Frank Frazetta art in it too, which is pretty cool. All right. Well, that worked out just great. This is a great looking book. I think 5.0 is a very reasonable grade for it. And I think paying $200 for a 5.0 book is great. And especially the eye appeal is just amazing. So there's still a lot of gloss on this cover. So this one really shows well for a 5.0. And I don't know, maybe CGC would even give it a 5.5 because it looks so nice. Now let's move on to the heavy appetizers. This is a book that I bought for $500 off of Comic Connect. It's been listed on Comic Connect for at least 2 years for that amount of money. And I put offers on the book and they just wouldn't take it. But I was like, hey, comic books have skyrocketed in price, especially the last year. And the price in this book stayed the same. And I thought, geez, it's actually a pretty good deal now. So let's get to it. Pretty good. Tons of packing here. We got this internal box there. Looks pretty good. All right, another inner box here. Okay, here it is, folks. This is a Super Magician, Volume 4, Number 5. This is an awesome cover. The bad dude is hooded. I'm into these like hooded evil guys on covers. And there's the magician in the background, the Super Magician. This is a book from Street and Smith back all the way for 1945, late 1945. And this book was sold to me as a 7.5. And as I'm looking at it here, the front cover is pretty consistent with that as a 7.5. Looks nice. I'm going to take it very carefully out of the bag and board here. My hands are clean and dry, but it's about this level and above where I start getting really concerned about fingerprints, because if you got a high grade book and they can find fingerprints on it, it's going to reduce the grade down a little bit. So this is right on that cusp. Gosh, first thing I'll say is that it really is shiny and glossy. So it looks super nice there. This green is absolutely luscious. And there's, a little bit of spine wear. So there's a few ticks that you might see. And there's a little crease there. I should say a bend, because I think that will press out. Let's take a look at the back. All right. Yeah, this is a really good looking book. Again, there's a little bit of wear that you see on the spine. Some of that might be able to be pressed out. I think a 7.5 is a very fair grade on it. I do think that, if you send it to CGC, it's going to come back somewhere between that 7.0 and 8.0 range. So I think that they nailed the grade on this one. I mean, nailed it in a good way. And let's take a look at the page quality. Yeah, I mean, the page quality, again, it's probably cream to off-white, but it looks fine, looks subtle. I don't see any brittleness at all. And yeah, this is an absolutely great looking book. And so I got this for $500. And Heritage has a CGC book that sold back in 2017 that was a 6.5, and that sold for almost $500. So I feel pretty confident that this book is better than that one. I think it's at least a 7, probably 7.5, as Comic Connect said, and could even grade out as an 8.0. So I am super happy with this book. And I mean, think about this. This is a book from 1945, cost 10 cents, and looks as good as it does today. So this definitely is going into my long-term collection. All right, finally, we are to the main course. Recall that I paid $3,000 for a raw book off of eBay, and it's the riskiest move I've ever made for a comic book. Now, why is it so risky? Well, for me, if I'm paying more than $1,000 for a book, I want to make sure that there's some guarantee about the quality of that book. So, for example, CGC, the largest third-party grader, will evaluate for restoration, and they'll also guarantee that grade. This particular book was sold as a near mint copy, a 9.4. That brings further risk. For example, if the book is a 9.0 as opposed to a 9.4, the book is about half the value. And it's really hard to determine if a book is a 9.0 or a 9.4 by just looking at images off of eBay. And when I've done my math on this particular book, here's why I thought that $3,000 was a reasonable deal. Okay. If the book came back as a 9.0, the book would probably be worth about $2,000 or $2,250. So I wouldn't lose too much money if it came back as a 9.0. If the book actually grades out at a 9.2, then the book would be worth likely about $3,000. So even if the book is that one increment down from a 9.4, a 9.2, I'm still okay. I made out even. If the book is actually a 9.4, it's likely worth $4,000 or even a little bit more. Now, here's the question, Keston, why in the heck would you pay this much money just off of an image off of eBay? Well, there's a couple things that prompted me. For this particular book, I've been trying to find a high grade copy, a 9.0 or better, for over 6 years, and I've never seen that book come to market in that time that I've looked for it. Secondly, the eBayer is actually an advisor for the Overstreet price guide. Anybody who's an Overstreet advisor typically has a really good reputation and is also really good at grading comic books. So that gave me some more confidence as well. And last, this book was listed as a buy now on eBay. And I knew how rare it was to see it in high condition. And I also knew that there are several other people who are really intense about this type of book. And so if they saw this book on eBay, they're probably doing the math like I am, and they're probably going to buy it. So I felt like, hey, I need to just act on this right now. And I might take a little hit, but I'm hopeful that I'll at least make out even, and perhaps I'll get lucky and the book is worth more than $3,000. All right, y'all, I just got this package from eBay. So I got the outer box out of the way. Let's go to the inner box and see what happens. I'm gonna try to cut carefully because there's $3,000 in here, or at least what I hope is $3,000. All right, so you can see the packaging here is pretty tight. I like this. They've got multiple layers of cardboard to protect the book. Again, it's a raw book. All right, I'm pulling it out now, folks. Let's see. All right, looks pretty amazing. This is Wonder Comics number 19 from 1948. It's an excellent space cover. It's airbrushed by Alex Schomburg. And at the time, he was signing these books Zila, which is Alex backwards. And I'm just going to be very careful when I hold this up. I mean, one thing's apparent here is it is just so freaking shiny, right? I mean, the cover is just amazing. The spine here looks immaculate. Again, looks really solid here. There's a small little tear, maybe like 1/16 of an inch right there. The rest of the book looks pretty immaculate. Yeah, this book is absolutely the real deal. It looks so good. And one of the things that I noticed or looked at more carefully was this writing right on that W. If you can see that, that may be very important writing. So I saw this when I first looked at the listing off of eBay, and there's a lot of comic books that have some writing on there in pencil. But the more I looked at it in person, I thought that looks familiar to me. And so then I went to the CGC website and I looked at the different pedigrees. And pedigree comic books are books that come from famous original owner collections. And as I was going through the pedigrees, there was one type of writing on those pedigrees that looked a lot like this. And that's the Mile High Edgar Church collection. In fact, that is the best collection that has ever been discovered. And I believe that this writing here matches that one. But I'm going to send this book off to CGC. Now, if it does come back as the Mile High copy, that's going to almost double the price of whatever grade it gets. So, for example, if this comes back as a 9.0 and it's the church copy, instead of being worth $2,000, it's going to be worth probably $4,000. If this ends up being a 9.2 Mile High, my guess is it's going to be a $6,000 book. And my Lord, if I am super lucky and this book comes back a 9.4, and the church copy is probably an $8,000 book. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. I hope you keep your fingers crossed for me, and we'll see what this book comes back as from CGC. Again, I'm Keston. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and hope to see you around real soon.